अच्छा जी, बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. Let's move ahead. Now we are going to discuss about the problem and the problem statement in detail. This is a very, very important topic. In this topic, you see, I already discussed that if you do not define the problem, if you do not identify the problem, then all your resources will be wasted. Okay, research requires a lot of resources. So identification of the problem is critically important. So in this lecture, inshallah, we'll be discussing in detail about the problem. Excuse me. Okay. So problem areas, we would identify the problem area and narrow down to research, preliminary research, the research which is required to reach the problem statement. So basically, there are two times when we follow the research, when we have to read the literature. First is when we go with the problem statement, when we found the problem area or when we want to investigate the problem. First we go to research the literature for the understanding the problem. Second, we go with the literature review. When we need to do a literature review, then we also consult the literature. Next. Okay. So the problems that the manager may encounter in the work setting can be a long and frequent delays that is leading to the frustration of the passengers and eventually switching behavior, negative word of mouth, and customer complaints. So these are the problems faced by the managers. Staff turnover is higher than anticipated. By the way, turnover is very good for any organization. Do you know that? Turnover is not bad, but it should not cross the limit. If the people are not leaving the organization, it means there is something wrong with the organization. There is a compromised productivity of the employees. That is why they don't want to leave the organization. Okay, so you need to look it out that turnover must be of a particular ratio. It should not cross that. When it increases, it means there is some problem, because it incurs a lot of cost like training of the employees, cost like orientation of the employees, risk. There is a risk with the new employee. There is a relationship challenge with the new employee. Customers does not feel very good with the new employees. They require ample amount of time so that they can be comfortable. Okay, the current instrument for the assessment of potential employee for management position is imperfect. For example, this is one of the challenge. Minority group in organization are not being promoted, can be one of the challenge. So these are the challenges I want you to read thoroughly in my lecture. The lectures will be available to Bilal, so you may read it out. And these are all the challenges which are usually faced by the managers. So the research can be of the applied one or the basic one, depend upon the problem. Okay? So let's understand the difference between the symptom and the problem. We need to identify the symptom and the problem. Without reaching the problem, we can never solve it. Symptom is basically misleading. It cannot give you result on investing your time and effort. Okay, let's take an example. Symptom of problem are not defined as a real problem. For instance, a manager might have tried to decrease employee turnover. Manager want to decrease the employee turnover. So what he did, he increased the wage. Okay? So that people do not leave the organization. So do you think would it work?
Yes, sir.
You think it would work? That's you think, but actually it will not work. It will not work. The reason is, the real problem is low motivation of the employees. And if we invest on the motivation, so would it be correct one? Our investment would be correct? No. Again, a symptom of the problem. We need to identify why the employees of your organization are not motivated. You need to identify what is the rationality behind it, what is the reason behind it. So what you found, that the employees does not have the ownership. The employees do not feel owner. Why? Because they are not engaged. So when the employees are not engaged, they don't feel motivated. They are accountable, but actually they are not responsible. So we need to give the responsibility so that they feel motivated and authoritative, so that they can implement and get motivated. So this is very important. You need to understand where is the symptom and where is the problem. Next. So one of the ways to reach to the exact problem from the symptom is the 5 whys. It is not necessary that you have to go with the 5 whys. You can stop at 3 or 2. It depends upon how deep rooted the problem is. For example, my best employees are leaving the organization. This is the problem. Is this a problem? No, this is not a problem. This is a symptom. My best employees leaving the organization. Why? Because they are satisfied with their job. Because they are not satisfied with their job. Why? This is not the problem. Exactly. Because they do not find a challenge in their job. They do not find the challenge in their job. There is no challenge. ठीक है? There is no learning. Why? Because they do not have control over their work. They do not have any control of their work. Every power is with the boss. Like in the family-owned business, state company, the people keep the power with them. They are afraid with the employees that when we give power to them, they will act in their own style, in their own manner, which they do not like. They want everyone to work like a robot, programmed and done. If anyone would go with a different style, management style, they feel threatened.
It's a commanding position.
Exactly, they feel threatened. Because they do not want people to like the employee more than the owner. Very important point. They never like it. So the competency, work, everything is there. The liking and disliking is important in the family-owned business. So that is why they do not grow as much as they should. So the multinational company or the company which is registered, public listed companies, what they do, the investors are not part of the employees. They give full authority to the CEO that you have all the authority. Now you lead the company. Likewise, the CEO gives the authority to the other employees down the line. So that is how the company grew. Very important. Anyway, so because they do not have control over their work. Why? Because they do not have a lot of influence over planning, executing, evaluating of their work. They do not have any influence over their planning, executing and evaluating of their work. Why? Because we have been reluctant to delegate. We do not delegate. So delegation was the real problem. Do you know the meaning of delegation? Delegation is when you give someone work to complete, to finish. When you make someone responsible. What I used to do in my company when I was in the industry, I used to delegate. And when I take leave, I never get bothered. If I do not even pick up my phone, nothing will happen. Because I have trained my subordinates as much as I can. I put all the effort to train them. So training is important, and training can only possible through delegation. Until you make anyone full responsible, he will never feel the full-fledged learning. The full-fledged learning is only possible when you make anyone fly on his own or walk by his own. So if you want to be clutches of anyone, so no one can learn to walk. So this is very important. So you see, delegation was totally not there. That is why employee was not motivated. Ari was saying just increase the wage, so that is going to backfire. That is going to backfire. You see, you are increasing the expense of your company, but it is of no use. It's very critical. Where you will be questioned many times. You said increase the salary, we did it. Now what is the matter? Are you incompetent? So it is over you, because you took a decision. You are responsible. So it's very critical. Being a manager, you need to investigate it properly. You need to come to the exact problem so that the solution can be lasting. And the impact would be feel. Next. Yes.
All these symptoms are not problems.
Yes.
These are symptoms.
These are symptoms. Okay?
Problem is the manager.
Yes.
Change the manager. Employee will be motivated. So what is the actual problem will it lie?
Yes, we just discussed that the employees were not given any responsibility and were not able to work by themselves. They were not able to learn.
Basically, employees need power. They need
Exactly. Okay. So you see how the selection of an academic perspective will help us to narrow down our research. Whenever we come across any problem, we need to look at the literature. Okay? So literature gives you a different perspective. One problem can have different solution or different reasons. One problem can have different reasons. You see, the problem is long and frequent delay lead to much frustration of the passengers, and it will lead to switching the brand, switching the service, and negative word of mouth and customer complaints. 3 problems. So when we look at the literature, what we found 2 perspectives for the same problem. We found 2 perspectives. First one is the management of perception. It is the management perception that will service providers to manage the customer's subjective waiting experience. See, whenever you are saying, sir, please wait, and you give a very bad seat to stay on, so he feels uncomfortable. Instead, whenever you say, sir, please wait, and in that case you give a very comfortable seat with something to eat or enjoy, or write it down or look at it, video or something. So there's a change in that. Or you give the free coupon to something so that the kids can enjoy something. So the waiting experience is very impactful. So one literature is giving the one perspective that the waiting experience can impact customer complaints, customer switching, and bad word of mouth. Got it? Another perspective is The selection of a particular academic perspective on the problem, for instance, management of operation management. The another perspective is operation management to decrease actual objective waiting time. The another perspective is you need to look at it where the problem lies, so that the waiting would not be there. There are two perspectives. So you can adopt anyone. For example, you are not being given as a manager any resource to improve the operation, or your boss has said you will not be provided more resources for this year. That means few months. In few months, what you could do? You can impact the waiting experience. That is not very expensive. You just can manage with in few $1,000s. So you have two perspectives. So the literature guides you how you can mitigate the problem, how you can solve the problem to some extent or to a great extent with the different perspective. Got it? Everyone understood? I am repeating myself. There was a problem of long delays which made the customer frustrated. Okay? And because of that, customer is complaining, customer is switching, customer is complaining and switching, complaining and negative word of mouth.
Negative feedback.
Negative feedback. So this is a very critical problem. So you need to influence the customer behavior. So what you do, you go to the literature and try to find out some guidance about it. So you found two perspectives. One is influencing the waiting experience, the other one is the improving the operations so that the waiting does not occur. So according to your resources, according to your will, you go with any of the perspective. Okay? Got it? Ji.
So by increasing the price, demand will decrease, so nobody has to wait.
That is another way. But literature, we are going toward literature. What literature says. If you can be the manager of the company, you can go for that. But we can never decrease the demand. If you ask me objectively,
For some time being, you can decrease the demand.
if I were the manager, I will never go with your idea. Why? Because decreasing the demand will impact the revenue. And when the revenue is less, you cannot pay off your debt, heavy debt. In the airline industry, the airplane are very, very expensive. You might have known. The assets have a very, very high price. So you have to pay the proper rent or proper installments for that. So if your revenue is less, how can you fulfill your promises? You cannot. So it's very critical to manage your profitability. Okay, let's talk about the published data. So what kind of published data we can refer to solve any problem, to identify any perspective, to solve any problem? Data must be credible, it must be a latest one, okay? It must be relevant, and it must be as per your budget, okay? It is very important. Next. So whatever literature you find, you must find it latest one, not old one. Why not old one? Anyone has an idea that why not old one?
सर क्योंकि अगर लेटेस्ट होगा तो ज़्यादा आसानी से हम प्रॉब्लम पर
Very good. Latest means, I already told you that science is upgrading itself very quickly. If you are using any technology you are using, it will be obsolete after some time. After some time it will be obsoleted. And it happened. We witnessed this concept. So likewise in literature, if any idea was floated, published, it can be challenged anytime or it can be improved. So you need to go with the latest one, that is the most improved up till now.
सर वो इसलिए ऐसे कहते हैं ना कि 5 साल तक का previous data जो references जो हो वो 5 साल तक यूज किए जाएं.
5 years are too many. In this era, 5 years are too many. 1 year is maximum. 1 year, after 1 year, it's all over.
एक साल के साथ में इतनी लिटरेचर मिलेगा नहीं.
You have to pay for that. Budget, you have to spend your money because you have to solve a problem. You are working for a company or you are working as a professor. So the university must pay, or the HEC or anybody must pay for that.
So you are saying that the literature review should be done on the latest level.
Bilkul. It must be latest, relevant, credible resource, not everyone. Credible resource. Next. Oh, back. Yes.
We are paying for the literature, we can develop our own.
Yes, you can develop your own. After paying, you can develop your own. Because when you pay, you read the latest. When you read the latest, you can develop your own. You always require the previous researches. Because you are not the only human on this earth. And you are not facing the first problem in any company. The problem has been coming for very long. So what you have to do, what intelligent person must do, he must not reinvent the wheel. He must go with the already work done so that he can improve further. Okay. Refining this problem is very important, and how we refine the problem with the literature. We refine the problem with the literature. Literature supports us to refine the problem, and we find multiple factors with the literature. What are the critical factors? And these critical factors are very important to develop the hypothesis. As we already studied in the hypothetical deductive method, that we need to develop the hypothesis. Without a hypothesis, you cannot conduct any scientific research. So for developing hypothesis, you need to find out the critical factors. And what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is the relationship between the factors. 2 factors. It can be of 3 factors. It can be the relationship of 3 factors, like the mediating or moderating one. So there can be, it is like that. Next. Okay, this is the example in which you refer to the literature to understand the customer anger. That customer anger, to understand the customer anger, you refer the literature. I want you to read this thoroughly so that you understand this concept. Who will read it loudly? Anyone? Voluntarily, आप पढ़ें. चलें आप पढ़ें.
Customer anger has been found to lead to negative word of mouth communication and switching above and beyond customer dissatisfaction.
These are the references, and this is the APA citation. You might have learned. These are the APA citation in which you see there are multiple letters. There are multiple letters. Multiple letters has written a research article on this date, this year, on this year. Date is not there, the year is there, and the same point has been mentioned by the Dubey and Morte 1996 on another year, and the year 1997 also mentioned that, and Taylor 1994 also mentioned. So you see semicolon differentiating the multiple researches. So that's how you cite the articles while making a point. Researcher never makes any point by himself. Remember, if you are saying as a researcher, I think, if I see any research with the sentence I think, I will throw that out, because that is not a research. That is a perception of any common or qualified person, and that has no respect in the industry and in the literary world. No respect. Researcher is unbiased and he has no say. You see, whatever researcher is saying, he is saying with the references. Okay.
Since it is also of common emotional response to failed services, it may have strong implications for the performance and profitability of service firms. For this reason, it is critical that service firms try to avoid customers' anger.
Okay, you see, they are defining that emotional response to failed services have a strong implication. So this is a critical one. It is not, don't take it easy. This literature is saying don't take it easy. Strong implication for the performance and profitability of service firms. The customer switching is there, or the infrequency of the customers. Customer will not come frequently to you, so your profitability will come. For these reasons, it is critical, it is very important that service firms try to avoid customer anger. There must not be any anger at all, specifically for service firm. So you see, the literature is telling you the criticality of the situation. Previously you think there are few customers which do not like our service, no problem, they can choose another airline. But this is not the case. It is a critical problem. Next.
To be able to avoid customer anger, service providers need to understand what events typically instigate this emotion in customers. Surprisingly, to date, we do not know much about instigations of customers' anger. Although we know that core service failures, Dube and Model 1996, and Waiting for Service, Fox, Kolsky, and Graham 1987, Taylor 1994, give rise to anger. Systematic research on the precipitating events of this emotion in service settings is absent. Therefore, this exploratory study investigates and categorizes events that typically instigate customer anger to fill this void. Thus, it provides a conceptual model of anger instigation in service and guidelines for service firms on how to avoid customer anger.
Now you see, the important point is they are telling the criticality of the customer anger, plus they are saying that there are no studies which have solved this problem. So whenever you write any research paper, research article, you have to go like this, in which you talk about the criticality of the problem, you discuss it thoroughly, and then you talk about where is the gap. If there is a gap, then there is a study. If there is a gap, then there is a study. Otherwise, there is no need of a study. This is a very important point. Remember, there must be a gap so that your study can fit in. Next. Now I would like to give you the example of research objectives. Objective. So what is research objective? I taught today the hallmarks of scientific research. In that I explained the purposiveness. You guys remember? So objective is the purposiveness. What is the purpose of the research? What is the objective of the research? Very, very important point. So in the research papers, you won't find this with the proper heading of objective. You have to read it in between lines. But we as a researcher, we need to know that there must be an objective, so that the research questions would be made to carry on that objective, and the hypothesis would be developed on the basis of that objective, and the data would be collected to achieve that objective. Objective of the study is very, very important. So defining objective is critically to find out what motivates consumers to buy a product online. To find out what motivates consumer to buy product online. So is it applied research or basic research objective? Interesting. With this data only. What do you think?
So basic.
देखा ऑब्जेक्टिव कैसा It is defining it clearly, completely, comprehensive. You see, to study the effect of leadership style on employees' job satisfaction. You see, employee job satisfaction when we say, so the employee dissatisfaction can be the problem of any company, or it can be a basic research if the problem is there is no problem in any company right now. Okay, so these are the objectives which you have to make so that you carry on your research effectively. Next, please read it after this class. You read it at home so that you understand them. In the exam you may ask to make the objective by your own of any problem. Well-defined research questions. With the research objective, we go with the research questions. So these are the research questions. Research questions is basically, in research questions you can include the variables. You include the variables. For example, customer dissatisfaction, negative word of mouth, post-purchase behavior, motivation. So these all are the variables. So you have to use the variables in the question. For example, what is the connection between motivation and performance? What is the connection between customer anger and customer switching? So you see, variables are there. Always variables are there. So you require variables to develop the questions. So research questions require the variables. Very important point. Next. So problem, objective, questions. I am just giving you a few minutes to read it thoroughly because they are in line. You see frequent long delays, negative word of mouth, switching behavior. Okay. Objective, to identify the factors that influence the passenger waiting experience, to investigate the possible impact of waiting on customer satisfaction and service evaluations. Questions. What are the factors that affect the perceived waiting experience of airline passengers, and to what extent do these factors affect the perception of waiting times? What are the affective consequences of waiting, and how does affect mediate the relationship between waiting and service evaluations? How do situational variables such as fill time influence customer reactions to the waiting experience? So it seems a little complicated, but you can make it easy one. Since you are not a seasoned researcher, so you will not go with this like. You can make a very simple question. What I suggest to students, with any problem, you have to make single objective and 2 questions. That's it. Again repeating, with any problem, obviously the problem would not be of that kind. It's a very complicated problem. I suggest students to pick up the easy problem so that you can make a single objective and 2 questions. In PhD, I follow the exact format. This is a very good format. Problem, objective, question. Everything is clear in this single slide. I am about to share with Bilal.
So I want to ask that these 3 headings like problem, research objective and research question falls under the problem statement. Is it the
No. No.
Link to the problem statement?
No. It is about to come. Yes. It comes before problem statement.
It comes.
Before
It's
that.
only defining the problem.
Yes. It is basically defining the research actually. It is in a broader way defining your research. How you are approaching to solve your problem. Next. So here we are with the problem statement. This is a very, very important point which we are about to discuss. This you need to learn, and I will be giving you assignment for that. You have to write your own problem statement. That might be of good weightage. What you need to learn? You need to learn how to write a problem statement, and it is the most important part of any research. Why? Because you define everything clearly. You research the previous literature very well, latest credible researches very well, and you choose the perspective on which you are working, and you find out the factors which are affecting the main, which are leading to main problem. So everything must be there with all the references. So if we come about that, what are the flow of ideas, what are the topics which are part of the research problem statement, that start with the topic, research problem, justification for the research problem, deficiencies in the evidence relating to the discussion to audience, that who would be the audience of your research, who are the reader of your research, consumer of your research, that will also be discussed. So this is the best flow of ideas, that how you go, and it must be sequentially. It must be sequentially. Why? If I explain you, when there is no research problem, then there is no justification. And when there is no justification, then there is no deficiency. Because deficiency would come when you show that what you have. Then you will say, this is short, this is what I have, and this is not with me. So you see justification and deficiency, and at the end, who will be the consumer of the research? Next. So I want you to highlight from the, there's a zoom in. Yes. Okay, now everyone must read it thoroughly. I will read it for you from here. Yes. Okay. Push it there. Yes, enough. Good, shabash. Okay. So you see, it is a very interesting read, actually. You know what research says? Research says the products which are harmful to human are being consumed regularly, or there is a profitability of these companies still. With the availability of vast media, literature and awareness, the companies are still flourishing. So they studied that why the cola companies are making so much profit. How come the tobacco companies are making so much profit? So what they found? Do you know what they found? Guess what they found? Exactly. Very good. Shabash. I'm happy with your answer. Basically, they target the youth. Not youth, the adolescents. Not youth. You are wrong. But still you tried. Close. Adolescent. Jinko, the people who do not have much understanding. The people who are not that much rational, impulsive. So you see multiple ads of these beverages. They take the models of our adolescent age. Very young boys or girls. Why? Because they want to influence them. And they know if they get them drinking and smoking in this age, they would be smoking all of their life. Most of them, except a few. Most of them. And that's how these industries are flourishing. Simple. The same idea is being discussed over here. Yes.
They are creating a perception and positioning that smoking is a status symbol in this society.
Yes.
Target audience is not the problem. The status symbol is the problem.
Yes. That can be also. The status symbol can be part of the developing world, but actually it is not a status symbol. or you may say the movies depict the smoking as a cool thing.
Yes.
Okay? Like in a recent movie, should we name or not, the hero is smoking all the time, and he was billionaire.
जिसको मिलेनियम दिखाता है उसके बाद सिगरेट दिखाता है.
So you see, so they are also basically the youth and the adolescent. It hit the idea to them. Yeah, I want to look like him. So what could I do? At least I can smoke. So you see, I smoke, and I am hero. So very interesting research. This is a problem statement which we are about to lead. Tobacco use is a leading cause of cancer in American society. And this sentence is not of a researcher. It is by McGuinness and Fofe, 1993. The both researchers published their research in 1993. Although smoking among adults has declined in recent years, it has actually increased for adolescents. Again, it is complementing my point. Adolescent. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention reported that smoking among high school students had risen from 27.5% in 1991 to 34.8% in 1995. You see, there is a great increase. 7%, almost. This is very big. In few years, it is 7%. It's a very huge number. And this is also from this report being published on 1996. And this is not our researcher statement. I am keep emphasizing because you do not have to write anything by yourself. Unless this trend is dramatically reversed, an estimated 5 million of our nation's children will ultimately die a premature death. See how has he managed to develop the problem, present the problem. That's what you have to do. Present the problem. Very critical problem. My research is solving a very critical problem. I am a very good researcher, great researcher. That's all. And this has a great impact on the reader's mind. Now, after these sentences, the reader will be reading very quickly. So that's how you catch the eye of the readers. Previous research on adolescent tobacco use has focused on 4 primary topics. See, now he's talking about the literature. Okay, what is available in the literature about the critical issue, about the critical problem. Previous research on adolescent tobacco use has focused on 4 primary topics. Several studies examined the question of initiation of smoking by young people, noting that tobacco use initiation begin as early as junior high school. So the same issue has been complemented with this is being happening. 1997. Other studies have focused on the prevention of smoking and tobacco use in school. This research has led to numerous school-based prevention programs and intervention. So these are the intervention. Intervention. Do you know the meaning of intervention? Intervention is how you basically experiment, and in experiment you intervene. For example, I give a lecture to half of the class and assess them, and half of the class is assessed without a lecture. So this is the intervention. I intervene and give the lecture. Likewise, they intervene, they guide it, and then they take the data. So they intervene. The intervention is again. So other study have focused the prevention with the intervention. Fewer study have examined could attempts of cessation of smoking behaviors among adolescents. A distinct contrast. This is a very, very, very strong statement. Again, this is a very strong statement. A distinct contrast to the extensive investigation into the adult cessation. Very interesting. People are researching on adolescent, how they can stop smoking in the old age, but they are not researching in the age of adolescent. Maybe due to sponsors, maybe due to other vested interest, conspiracy. So you see, it is highlighted that there are very few researches of young adolescents, but there are many of adults. See, that's how he has made his point very well. Critical problem, adolescent problem, and contrast, sharp contrast in the availability of the research, because many adolescent research are there, but old people researches are there, but adolescent researches are not there. Same discussion are there. Minimal research attention has been directed toward the social context of school. See, now this is a deficiency, that minimal focus has been done on the social context. What are the social factors which are making the adolescent smokers? So you see, so this research is talking about the social factors which are creating the adolescent smokers. In the last, only talking about the audience. So I want you to read it thoroughly so that you understand the problem statement, and I will be sharing with Bilal the assignment of yours. So what you have to do, you have to write the problem statement. I will be giving you like this, you have to write the problem statement of yours. Wordings must be changed. Wording must be changed. The same problem statement you have to write by your own. Same problem statement. Do not use the chat GPT at all. I want you to learn how to write a problem statement. And for that you have to read it thoroughly and write it in your own words. Anyway, it can be, it will not be as professional as it is written, but I want your effort. Okay? The citation would be same, obviously. Citation would be same, but you have to use your mind that how, maybe your problem statement would be better than this, maybe, but you need to attempt. You can increase few sentences, but you do not have to increase the citation. If you increase the citation, then it is well and good. It is not my requirement. In the same citation, you have to manage it. Okay, any questions so far? So I don't think Bilal, I have to share anything with Bilal. You just have to write this problem statement, everyone, and submit in the next class. Share. Yes, I will be sharing with Bilal. Chief presentation, other things. Slides. So this is the last topic we studied. I hope everything has been cleared and understood. Thank you.